guys, I am back and I have a lot to tell you today. So this morning it's been a crazy morning for me. So the kids are off to school and I've had a little bit of me time, and I reviewed the videos that I'd already posted. So I posted 3 on this channel, and I could kind of see where it's kind of confusing to some of you that doesn't have a clue of what I'm talking about. So I kind of want to rewind and start fresh and explain what I'm talking about with the out-of-body experience and travel. So since I was 12 years old, I've been having out-of-body experiences, unwillfully. They just came about when I was a child. I was sleeping at my grandma's house and I was actually in her bed. She was next to me. And I remember waking up and I was paralyzed and I couldn't move. And so I just screamed, and I just remember being terrified. And I really thought that it was kind of like a dream or something. Like, I didn't realize what it was at that time. But now, you know, as I've traveled and things have changed for me, I know that it's out-of-body experiences and astral travel. And so I just want to let you guys know how it started for me, and then, you know, where I'm at now. And I've definitely grown so much, so thank God for that. But so my house growing up, my grandma actually had built it. I don't know if it was built on some kind of Indian burial ground or what. I know it was the first house, dirt roads, you know, it was a very tiny house. It is extremely haunted. This house is very haunted. There's a demonic presence in this house. And it really blows my mind because she was a Christian lady, and I know that they'd built this house, you know. But there's many stories that could be told about the house that I grew up in. So it started around 12 years old, and I was sleeping in her bed, and I woke up and I couldn't move. I tried to move and I couldn't. I could see around the room, but I could only see what my eyes are focused on. So, you know, if I'm looking straight up, I'm not seeing around me. I'm only seeing what my eyes are able to see because I'm paralyzed. When I scream, nothing comes out. It's just, I hear it, you know, I hear the scream, but nobody in the room can hear me screaming. So it's like nothing's coming out. The worst feeling in the world to feel this way. And I think that's why, when this all started for me, I was terrified, you know. It happened to be that numerous times this would happen, where I could wake up and I could know that I knew I was paralyzed. And in my own mind, I thought, I'm trying to sleepwalk, you know. I thought that I was just kind of in between, you know, a logical explanation. Even at 12 years old, I was thinking my body's trying to sleepwalk, and, you know, my mind's awake and my body's not. And so that's pretty much what I knew, you know, that's it. And so I remember praying all the time. Anytime I got into a paralyzed position, in a paralyzed state, I would just, you know, try to close my eyes and pray for it to go away. I know that the more I fought it, the more I tried to move, the more I tried to break free, the more I screamed, it would just get worse. Things would start happening in the room around me. So if I was scared, I would hear, like, I could hear the ghost in the house, and his voice was so loud, and it was like he was in the attic. It was just laughing. It was almost like he was laughing so hard the house is rumbling, you know. I had dark spirits hover the top of me, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't talk, couldn't move, you know. I'm like gasping for air. I'm screaming like I'm trying to get up. I'm seeing this dark thing over me, and I can't do anything about it except pray, you know. This happened numerous times, and I just didn't understand. It took, it was the dark entity. When I'd had about 2 or 3 dreams. I call it dreams because it's easier talking to my mother or somebody like that. I call it dreams so they would understand what I'm trying to say. So you'll hear me refer to it as dreams, but it's definitely not a dream, okay? It's astral projection, astral travel. When I was paralyzed, I couldn't move, and for the longest time, like I said, I thought I was trying to transition into sleepwalking. I fell asleep too soon, you know. They always seem to come right when I fall asleep, so I felt like maybe I was just falling asleep too fast. The deal is when I started hearing the demon voice in the house, the rumbling of the house, when I started seeing dark entities in the room around me, trying to harm me, you know, I started seeing the stuff, and I realized this is something that's not natural, you know, it's paranormal. And so I was terrified. I mean, it is a terrifying feeling to be trapped in your own body and you can't move, and you're vulnerable to ghosts and demons. And this house was definitely full of that. It was heavy. It still is very demonic. There's demonic activity there. The house, my grandma had died, so we sold the house, but we sold it to a relative. Well, he's a friend of the family. And it's like, you know, he'll invite me over, and I can't go over there. I can't even go on the road. And I grew up in this house, and my grandma was a loving lady, you know. And my childhood memories are here, and I still can't go because the heaviness, the attachment this thing has on our family, the bad that comes with this entity, the demonic thing. It was terrifying, and I don't want to be near it, you know. So the deal is so what got me was I kept telling my grandma, I'm having these out-of-body experiences, you know, and I didn't even know what they were, you know. So I'm like, Mom, I'm having these dreams, and I'm paralyzed, and I can't move, and I'm seeing things around the house, and the house is haunted. And she knew, like, she's a Christian lady, and I think she was more advanced than she ever told me she was spiritually as far as psychic. But she just always told me that they'll rock your bed at night, don't talk about it, you'll look crazy, you know. And to leave it be, to let it go. And it kept happening to where I kept dreaming or experiencing this repeatedly, and I cannot quit talking about it because I was scared, you know. So basically, she kind of just hushed me up. So what happened? Okay, so about, I don't know, right up in when I started having them, I would say within the first 5 months or so of having this experience, I remember a night where I was laying in her bed. She's to the right of me, and on the left of me is a window, and in the front of me is a window in this bedroom. And I remember waking up, and I'm paralyzed, and I can't move, and I'm thinking, so, you know, I have my whole thoughts in mind, my mind's awake. And I just start praying, God, please help me. You know, I'm fighting it because it's a reaction. I'm trying to wake up. And the next thing I know, I see a lady at this window. I have a window right here. We were kind of poor. My grandma was. We didn't have much money. And back in those days, we didn't definitely have central air. I don't even know if it existed, but we had window fans. That's what we had. And so the window was open and the fan was blowing in. I remember that. Also, it was a kind of a stormy night. There was lightning. I know that too. I remember that vividly in my experience. The curtains were white and they were blowing in on me. They were blowing in from the fan and from the storm and everything. A very fresh breeze, summer breeze, but it was terrifying if you could only picture this in a pitch black house. The light coming in from the lightning, and then, you know, having the windows blow in and seeing a woman at your window. Paralyzed, I laid there, and I remember my eyes fixed on the spot, you know. And she said, if you let me in, you won't have these dreams ever again. And in my 12-year-old mind, I thought, I'm letting you in, you know. The thing about this woman is she appeared to look just like my cousin. My cousin lived with us in this house, and I'm not even gonna say her name, but she was almost kind of like a sister to me growing up because she lived with us, you know. And I knew that she was my aunt's daughter, but I just thought she liked staying at grandma's too, because like we all called her mom, we all stayed with her, and so I never questioned my cousin's situation. I just know she lived with us. And when this lady came to the window, she looked just like her. And my cousin was older, so sometimes she would come in really late. And I knew that she looked like my cousin, almost to where I almost believed for a second it was my cousin. You know, at the first initial glance, it looked like her. And so I can't tell you I was scared of this lady, because I wasn't. I felt comfortable around her. Even though I realized it wasn't my cousin, I just felt at ease and at peace with her. So next thing I know, she's right here, and next thing I know, I'm up. I don't know how I got up, but I'm up, you know. And in my child mind, I'm thinking my body's really up. I'm thinking I'm walking. I thought I was sleepwalking, you know. I still thought, I knew I was in a different kind of realm type of thing, but I really believed that I was sleepwalking. So I remember walking around the side. There was only this much room on the side of the bed here, and I'm walking around, and she's following me through this window. You know, she knows I'm going to open the door. So then I go this way to the foot of the bed, because the doorway's over here to get out of the room. So I go this way. Well, she's at the window, and she's doing this. She's following my every move. So I wrap around the hallway, and I go to the living room, and I open the door. And I remember a familiar creak. Our house had a big, huge storm door. And when you pulled it, it was hard to open, and it just creaked. It made a familiar creak. And when I opened it, she came in, and she handed me beads. And they were beads like you would find in like 1970 style beads that hang in your doorway. You know, for like, instead of having a door, you have beads in your door. She handed me a package of those, and she said, hang these and they'll keep you safe. And she said, thanks for letting me in. And she vanished. At that very moment, boom, I was in my bed. There was no walking back to my bed. I was just in my bed. So I'm awake, you know, I'm gasping for air, like, oh my gosh, what was that, you know? So I'm like waking up my grandma, and I'm like, Mom, you know, this lady just came to the window and I just let her in. And you know, by now my grandma's probably sick and tired of me, you know. She's like, knock it off. She was very outspoken. I do know that she did not speak to me about this until the next day. So I wake up and I'm like, you know, I had this experience, this dream or whatever it was, you know, and this lady came to a window and she looked like my cousin, and my grandma froze. And normally she would say, knock it off. They're going to shake your bed at night. This time she did not. She said she wanted more details on this woman. And so I told her exactly, described her clothes that she was wearing. And it ended up being my grandma's daughter. She said, my grandma told me, that wasn't your cousin, that was your cousin's mother, who died years ago. She was murdered. She was murdered a year before I was born. You know, this set me back a little bit, you know, because I could tell you what I experienced, but to hear somebody confirm that to me is a shock. You know, it was just like, whoa, all this stuff's hitting me. I'm 12 years old here, you know, not understanding what I'm going through or what I'm dealing with. And for my grandma to sit there and not dismiss me and to tell me everything she had told me, it was a very powerful moment of my life, and I remember it very clearly, very. So my cousin, her mother, so basically when her mother died, which is my aunt, when she died, my other aunt adopted her. At this point in time, I didn't know any of this. It was not spoken about to me. You know, I was an innocent child, and I just didn't know details of what had happened or why, or, you know, that was all new to me. So the fact that she looked like my cousin was crazy, because after I tell my grandma about this and I see pictures, she shows me pictures of this woman. It is the same woman to the T, you know. Anyway, so the deal is my grandma told me then, she said, there's no way you can help solve anything. She told me to stay away from trying to help my aunt who passed away, this lady that I don't know. Her name is Candy. She told me not to dabble in it. Don't try to figure out who killed her, because they're going to kill you. She told me that, and she said, this is the thing, there's still bad people out there. And she was like, you cannot test those waters. There's some things that are dangerous for you. And in that, I listened, and I listened good, you know. I believed every bit of what she said. She was a great lady, and if she said something, there was a purpose, and And I listened to that, you know. I stopped asking questions at that point, you know, because after she tells me about this lady, of course I'm going to be like, so how'd this happen? Well, who did it? Well, where are they? Well, why aren't they in jail? Well, and you know, bothered me. But when she told me that she told me straight up, there's no evidence. She said that when the murder had happened, she got a phone call. Actually, they came to her door. Officer came to her door, and what she told me was, they told her, your daughter's dead, and she'd been murdered, and she was shot. Candy was shot with a double-barrel shotgun. She was shot on West 3rd Street in a house, and her daughter, try not to give too much information out really, but her daughter was there in the room at 3 years old. My cousin was 3 when it happened, and she was there, and they didn't touch her, but my cousin has no memory of it, you know, she was a child. And so I do know that when the policeman asked my grandma, you know, is there anything you want? Do you want her personal belongings? You can pick them up at the station. My grandma said, yeah. Well, like I said, my grandma didn't have much money. My grandma's husband died young, and my grandma also lost a son due to a drowning when he was 10 years old. So she had a lot on her plate. 7 kids, no husband, a child's already died, and now another child's died. And like I said, she never drove, lived on Social Security. She ended up having her oldest daughter go pick up the belongings on the police station. And she said that when she came in, she handed her a brown paper sack full of items. And in this sack, when my grandma opened it, was the shirt that Candy had wore. And it had a bullet hole in the chest. And my grandma said she lost her mind. She said that there was skin and blood on the shirt, and she just immediately lost her mind. And what she did was go outside and burn it. And you know, she was teary-eyed when she tells me, you know, I know that I made a mistake when I did that. And she was like, I don't know why they would have gave me her personal belongings like that. Those were evidence, and but there is no evidence now. And she said, so, you know, no matter what we think we can do to help, we can't help. What's done is done. There is no evidence, and there's very bad people that could harm you or our family, and let it be. And so I didn't question, you know, that was all she had to say. I sat there in silence, and I didn't question her. She was a wise woman, and yeah, it bothered me sometimes, but I knew she was right, you know. And so that was my first experience in realizing that I'm having a gift here, and I'm communicating with souls that have passed over. That was a confirmation, and it was shortly after all this started, and so I knew that that I had a gift, you know. There was something going on that people don't understand, and it didn't matter how I try to tell anyone. I remember talking to my mom, my stepmom, my dad. You know, nobody understands. Nobody gets it. And so it's been a struggle on my own. You know, a lot of times I feel like I'm on my own, especially in childhood. You know, I definitely felt like I was on my own in this, and it's been a fight for a long time. I will get more into the whole Candy story. In summary, though, she came into my life. I would say she was around till I was about 25. She stayed around. Occasionally, you know, she'd pop in, or I'd see her. She'd try to communicate with me. She'd put me in situations. She told me things. We traveled together. She showed me good things. But I can only remember one time where I felt like she was going to try to tell me her story. And her story, I'm sure, was about who had murdered her. And I remember sitting in a room. It was a dark room, and it had an old TV screen on the floor. And they'll try to tell you things either telepathically, but when you're not getting it clearly through telepathic communication, they'll send you images through your mind. At that age, I had a difficulty understanding they're showing me images, and I feel like she knew that. And so in order for her to show me images, she decided to put it on a TV screen and show me that. So she created this image for me through a TV screen. And I remember closing my eyes, and I knew in my heart that she was going to show me something that was terrifying. I denied it. And you guys are probably like, are you crazy? I don't regret denying that. My grandma was a wise woman, and I will always stand by that. And I don't want to know what I'm not supposed to know. It's not because I'm fearful, really. It's just because I can't really tell you. I think it's because I know that there's nothing we can do to fix this for Candy, and I don't want to keep seeing stuff that I don't want involved in. Do you understand? And I know that sounds crazy, but keep in mind I'm 12 and 13, you know, experiencing this, so that's another thing too. But however, I told Candy then, Mom, my grandma, told me, there's no helping you. If I watch your video and I see who did it, and even if I was to find these people for you, there's no evidence. There is nothing I can do for you. I do not want to watch something so tragic. I don't want to relive this. I don't want to watch you. You know, I am not okay with this. And she stopped. She stopped the TV that I was watching. It went fuzzy. And she hugged me. And she said, you're right. And she said, I'm here because she wanted to make sure her daughter, who I live with, my cousin, was protected. She wanted her to know that she was still there and that she watched over her, and that she wasn't ready to cross over until my cousin was grown and able to survive on her own, I guess. I think that she was just almost like her job was to look after her daughter, and she stayed here to do that. And once I realized this, and it took a few experiences for her to get this out to me through communication and imaging and stuff, she stopped, I stopped fearing her so much. You know, kind of for a long time, I honestly looked at her like, actually I got into a fight with her one time, and I'm like, you caused this, you know? You told me this gift would go away. You gave me a gift at the door, but I let you in. Like, I let you in. So what's that mean even? I let you into me? I mean, you know, and I was mad. And the more I dealt with it, the more I was pissed off. And I would tell her I'm pissed. And I would stay on this lower vibration because I was pissed. Regardless if I'm awake and alive, I was pissed. And when I traveled, I was still pissed. So nothing changed in me. I couldn't reach to a higher vibration. At this age, I never experienced a good travel because I was on this frequency where she was at, you know, and my mind frame wasn't able to get any higher. You know, this was me. I'm this age. I don't know better. I got all this drama. I'm fearful every day. I'm scared to go to sleep. All these emotions kept me on a lower vibration, and this kept me right here with her. And the reason why she was on a lower vibration is she died at 19 years old of a tragic death. She was not able to rise higher. She was not ready to die. I mean, she's pissed. She's angry. She's sad. She can't see her daughter. Her daughter can't see her, I should say. And she's stuck on this lower vibration. She can't go up because she's pissed. So here we are together. And I didn't realize at the age I was at that there was anything higher. You know, at this age, I thought, this is it. I'm scared to death. I never want to die. I've seen where they go. I've seen how they are, and I don't want to die, you know. I think in 7th grade they ask your biggest fear, and people were saying spiders and you know, like alligators or heights. And it got to my turn and I said death, and everybody just stared at me, and teacher's mouth dropped and was like, why are you scared of death? Have you ever lost a loved one? I'm like, no. I don't know why, I just don't want to die. And I'm thinking, oh God, like I should watch what I said, because, you know, I become consciously aware that people aren't living on the level I am, and their mind don't expand the way mine does. And you always have to remember you live on spiritual and physical at the same time. Anytime you're here on the physical, you're also there. It doesn't matter that you're here and awake and you're not. It doesn't even matter that you can't travel, because I'm telling you now, you communicate with them all the time. They're here. They see you. You might not see them. When you think something, you draw it to you. Telepathic communication is how you travel out there. So if right now, I'm talking about Candy. I'm thinking about Candy. Could that bring her? Absolutely could bring her in here. And that's fine. I'm just telling you, that's how easy it is. Just like that. So spiritual and physical run hand in hand. You might not see that, but it does, and I'm here to tell you it does. So when you pray and you're in your mind praying and God hears you, the same thing. That's what I tried to tell you in the other video about the telepathic communication. I'm not here just to tell you about out-of-body experiences. I'm here to tell you how it's affecting you in this life. And spiritual awakening is happening right now across the world. And I want to bring sense of that to you. I want you to understand what I know through experiences. And I think that it will take a lot of videos, but if you actually really follow me and watch the videos, you're going to grow. You're going to understand, exactly what I say. It should make more sense to you about the spiritual life. So, again, about the Candy thing, it was years and years, and I might get into all those little experiences I had eventually with you guys. But I know from the last 3 videos I did, I was so jumpy, I'm like, I went here and I went there, but I never once told you, this is what out-of-body experience is. And this is why I know what it is. This is my confirmation. And that's what I'm here to do. So I'm going to stop this video because we are at 26 minutes. I will do a part 2 to this. And in that video, I'm going to tell you, we will stop with all the stories of my experiences so much. I'm going to talk to you exactly about traveling, how you communicate, what it's like, different dimensions. I'm going to get into the heart of the topic here. And so I will be right back.